Hi, Dave Weber. Good. Thank you for
Hello,
coming
how are you,
today.
Stephanie?
Hi. So everyone, my name is Stephanie Gertz, and I am part of a group of organizations within Waterloo Region, which includes Grand River Environmental Network, Nith Valley EcoBoosters, Rare Charitable Research Reserve, Reep Green Solutions, and Sustainable Waterloo Region, and as well Climate Action Waterloo Region. This year, instead of doing the 100 debates, we decided we'd do interviews with the candidates for the Provincial 2022 provincial election. So today I have Dave Weber. The 6 questions I'll be asking Dave today will be the same questions that other candidates are being asked across the region. You can check out our YouTube channel, which will have all the people that have confirmed and actually completed interviews with us. So Dave Weber here is with the Green Party in Kitchener South-Hespeler.
Thanks for having me, Stephanie.
Thank you. So the first question is, all 8 municipal governments have committed to the Transform Waterloo Region strategy to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 80% by 2050, with a 50% reduction by 2030. How will you, as a local representative, help our community and businesses achieve this goal?
Well, there's a lot in this subject, but I guess mostly for what I'm going to be emphasizing on. I do align with the party position that we need to motorize all our transportation, or sorry, electrify all of our motorized transportation, so that cars, LRT, GO, buses. We need to do this because we have so much of our emission being a result of transportation. But we need to rethink our communities, and this urban sprawl blueprint that we've always been doing, we need to think a little bit more European and build more compact. Thankfully, in Waterloo Region in its entirety, we seem to have some pretty good understanding of that as a region, and the commitment to carbon reduction by intensifying our urban development along LRT and public transit routes. So we're just in the early stages of transitioning. We still have far too many neighborhoods being built with urban sprawl. We do need to change that. And we need to focus on these 15-minute walkable communities so that people do live and work and play close to everything that they typically need. When it does come to longer distances, then we need better interconnected transit as well. Get more cars off the road, because cars are a real big deal. We need to have more fast chargers on those routes, but locally, most people can just get around with charging a car. If they do have to have a car for a few hundred kilometers, they can charge it at home. So I'd like to see that infrastructure being built up. When Doug Ford came into power, he had yanked out a whole bunch of electric chargers on the GO stations and parking lots, stuff like that, and eliminated the vehicle rebate for buying electric vehicles. Also changed in the building code that we would no longer be hardwiring vehicle or homes to be readily supplied with the capability for fast chargers. I'd like to see that being put back in too. I'd be pushing for that. So I guess one last thing I'll share with you, because with fear of going on too long here. One of our local residents, Matt Rogers, he lives in Hespeler. He showed me a blueprint that he came up with, like showing all these pathways for active transportation, for walking and cycling, showed the land allocation he would need, based on historical data, what he estimated it would cost, and how it would make cycling and walking more effective or efficient to get from certain areas of the community to others. And people would be healthier by being more active, but it would keep them safer too, because it would separate the bike pathways from off the roadways quite a bit. So okay, that's something.
I have to cut you off there to be fair for the other candidates. We have to be consistent with our time frame. All right. So number 2.
How long are you supposed to be giving me?
1 to 2 minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know that. I'll do better.
How will your party meet the target of protecting 30% of Ontario lands and waters by 2030 in keeping with Canada's international commitments?
Okay, well, we're committed to working with the Indigenous community, the Indigenous peoples, to protect Ontario land. And we want to have 20% of it protected by 2025, with expanding that to 30% by 2030. It's very, very important. So I'm going to make that one very short to make up for the first question, okay?
Fantastic, thanks, Dave. Okay, our second one, what will you do to address the need for mixed multi-use housing in walkable communities? So we can steal some of that time from the beginning of what you're talking about with the walkable communities,
Yeah.
and that new home construction is done sustainably and affordably.
Yeah, so we need to update the planning rules to allow for people with the kind of the right to go ahead and build some of these infill basement suites and tiny homes, laneway housing. That's a component of increasing what is available and in the same amount of space. So this is both encouraging the walkable communities, the 15-minute communities, and makes more capacity to make them more affordable. Sustainable development moving forward. We really do need to get to net zero building code by 2030 so that all new buildings take next to nothing to heat in the winter and next to no energy to cool in the summer. Getting off of natural gas for the heating component by swapping out furnaces for heat pumps is something the Green Party is really active behind. And it's also something that I'm enthused with now that I went and I saw a tiny home that Simon Wong built on Harbor Ave in Kitchener with the heat pump outside. It was the first time I actually saw one. And to know that it works like an air conditioner and a heater, and it basically looks like an air conditioner, I had no idea, to be honest. I got educated. I replaced my furnace a couple of years ago, and had I have known about that, I wouldn't have done that. Like heat pumps.
Thanks, Dave. The next one is, how will you support sustainable transportation choices with less car dependency and better active transportation and public transit?
Okay, so supporting active transportation is something that we must do for the health and for the efficiency of our communities, and keeping everything, I think, vibrant in kind of a European way. I talked about Matt Rogers and what his idea was. I'm really hoping that I can get his plan and put it up on my website and share it and promote it, because like the guy's brilliant. He did a great job. And yeah, I'm behind that. It's mostly Hespeler because he lives in Hespeler, but it is something that we need to be doing more of. So supporting public transit, the main reason why people don't ride it, it's not because of cost. It's because it's not reliable or practical enough for them. When people work to midnight or 1 a.m. and the bus has stopped running just before for them, it just makes it so that they can't really use it for that side of their trip. So they often will have to try to find different transportation even to rather than from. So if we want really, really good adaptation or adoption of public transit, I like the mantra, if you build it, they will come. It's like, you know, maybe if you know that movie, Field of Dreams, the whole idea is it has to be there, and then people will get on board. If we expect people to use it when it's not efficient, we're not going to get the same kind of buy-in.
Thanks, Dave. And how will your party protect farmland and address the negative ecological effects of aggregate extraction?
Okay, I'm not exactly sure the number, but I think that I've heard that we're taking out 13 times more aggregate than what we're actually using here in Ontario. So where is that all going? You know, I don't think they're just putting it in stockpiles for the sake of making stockpiles. I think it's being shipped places. There's other ways of building. First of all, like with hempcrete, if you've never heard of this, check it out on the internet. It's widely available, but it's stronger, and as you grow hemp, it has carbon sequestering, and yeah. So like there's other options. There's also as we're demolishing highways to rebuild them, we need to take this aggregate that's just being taken to the landfill because it's old. We need to be reprocessing it and grinding it up and using it again. We need to reuse rather than just dumping. And until we figure out those measures a little bit better than what we've got right now and start to apply them, the Green Party wants to put a moratorium on all new aggregate contracts. That will allow us to just use what we have, which is plenty, and protect the farmland from expansion, which is probably not necessary. And the farmland is. So.
Thanks, David. Okay, the last question is BIPOC. Black, Indigenous, and people of color and women are disproportionately exposed to environmental hazards such as landfills and industrial pollution. How will you address this environmental injustice?
Okay, so the number one when I think of environmental injustice is the catastrophe at Grassy Narrows and how the federal government has really not addressed that properly. The Green Party in Ontario is willing to step up to the plate and do the remediation that's required to take the mercury out of the soil and remediate that so it's not constantly leaching into streams and rivers going downstream, which is still continuing to poison people to this day. It's unacceptable. If this was, I think, any other community, like if it was a community affected that with people that look like me, I think that there would have been greater action taken on it. There would be financial compensation, which is something else the Green Party is wanting to pressure the federal government to do, is to deal with financial compensation and medical treatment to help all of those who are affected and actually clean up the land. But Ontario is willing to do its part to pay and do what it needs to help remedy that area. Now, when it comes to all kinds of things that could go wrong in government, I think when it comes to racial inequity, I think that we need to get more people in government that are with diverse backgrounds. Thankfully, the Green Party has got 25% of all the candidates, a full slate of candidates that have a diverse background. And with them being present and getting elected, they can speak up for their communities and what they know about, obviously much better than I know about. So it's very, very important to be present, to have a seat at the table.
Thank you, Dave. Well, thank you today for having an interview with us today, or me today. Your video will be posted later on. And yeah, congratulations on running for Kitchener South-Hespeler as the Green Party. And we look forward to seeing what the results are.
Well, thank you.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
You too.